once you're finished stitching all the way around for your 1/2 inch seam allowance for number 56, you want to check to make sure that nothing got folded funny as you were sewing. If something got folded funny, or there's another pucker or pleat like they talked about after your basting stitch, you want to go back, rip those stitches out, and fix that part so it looks like it's good. Number 57 says you're going to zigzag the edge of your seam allowance. This is going to make it so that the fabric, the raw edges of your fabric, are not going to unravel later. Before you do your zigzag stitch, you want to make it so that both of your edges of your fabric are right next to each other. Because when we zigzag, we're going to go on and off the fabric to make a nice stitch that wraps around the edge. Now, if you have parts of your fabric that aren't right next to each other, like on my curved part right here, you're going to cut the longer piece so it is exactly the same as the other one. So you're going to go all the way around your bag and make it so that the edges are the same. So where these two edges aren't, I'm going to cut. I'm going to be careful when I cut to make sure to not accidentally cut through my bag where I don't want to. But I'm going to cut around the corner to make it so that these two edges are going to match up, so that when I zigzag, it's going to land on both edges of the fabric. Okay. It is okay to cut off a little bit of the other piece, so you're cutting both off, because that's going to make it so that they're for sure exactly the same. Okay, so once you cut it, they should be right next to each other. And then you're going to keep looking around. It's going to be most of your curves will need a little bit of trimming. It looks like I have another one here. And then my zipper tape right here, the fabric part of my zipper, that's sticking out a little bit too. I also want to cut that so it's going to be the same right next to my fabric here. I've got one more curve to trim. Okay, as I look around my bag now, it should look like my fabric is right next to each other all the way around. Okay, now I'm going to do my zigzag stitch for number 57. So I'm going to be putting my bag in so that the edge of the fabric is between the two toes on the presser foot. This is going to make it so the zigzag goes on and off of the edge of the fabric. Okay, then I'm going to change my stitch number, so I'm going to make the green light right next to the number sign. I want to change this to number 8. That is our zigzag stitch. So I'm going to hit the plus button until it says 8. And now when I sew, it's going to sew a zigzag stitch for me. So I'm going to still backstitch, and then I'm going to keep sewing. And notice as I'm sewing, the edge of my fabric is between the two toes, and so when the needle goes down, it goes off of the fabric, and then it goes back on the fabric. Off the fabric, on the fabric. All the way around. You want to go slowly around the curve to make sure that you can stay on and off the edge. Okay, and you are going to do the zigzag stitch all the way until you get back to where you started, even going over the webbing piece and the zipper like I'm coming up to. So when I go over the webbing, it's thicker, but it should still do a zigzag stitch for me. And even across my zipper tape. And around the final curve. When you get back to where you started, you're going to backstitch again. And when you take your fabric out, you can cut off your threads, but you want to check to make sure that your zigzag stayed on and off the edge of your fabric the whole way around your end piece. If you find a place where it came off of the edge on accident, put your bag back in and re-sew a zigzag stitch over the part that you missed. It's okay to go back and add zigzags if you missed any parts. Once you're finished with your zigzag stitch, you are then going to do these same steps with the pinning on your other end piece. So you pin it on, you do your basting stitch, you fix any mistakes, you do your regular stitch, and then you trim it, and then you do your zigzag stitch. But before you sew on your other side, make sure that your bag is opened a little bit from this end so that when you're all finished and you have your other end on, you'll be able to flip it right side out again.